Hello everyone in cyber world, welcome back to another video. I'm Jennifer.
And I'm Richard, and this is our channel we call Poor Man's DIY. Today we're going to do yet another continued review of the longer Nano Pro, but today we're going to be showing you this wonderful extension referred to as a slide extension. All right, today I'm not going to get involved in all the naming of the parts here. We're just going to get into it. The idea behind this extension is simply this item here slides back and forth, and it creates a larger base to engrave on that will move because the laser itself is although it's portable, it doesn't have an X and X Y that allows the laser head to move around. So instead, the laser is going to stay still, but this device here goes back and forth, so allowing you to engrave something larger. So first of all, we're going to put together the base itself. We're going to put this aside. These clamps here are what's going to be needed after it's been assembled. They'll be placed in here to hold down whatever it is that you plan on engraving. So we're also going to put those aside. Now the instructions have some things on here that are a little bit different than what I'm going to be doing, and I have a reason for doing so. All right, to begin with, we need to assemble this, and this is going to go onto the slide. Now, when this is done, I believe the instructions show that the numbers to the ruler, this ruler here, the numbers go, let's see, I believe they go on the outside as such. And then we're going to have these screws that hold this in place, and these tighten them down. Now, I have no objections to that. That's how these numbers are made. There's no other way to change this, but I prefer that the ruler side is on the inside. And the reason for that is if I'm going to measure something, I can get an accurate measurement directly against the ruler, whereas if the numbers are on the inside, I can't see where it's actually lined up to. So I prefer to do something a little bit different than what's instructed. Now, getting back to this, first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to put the nuts in, and then we're going to put the handles on here, but we're going to do this very, very lightly, just on a couple turns, just so that it's holding on, and we'll explain why here in a second. All right, we got those attached, and we'll do the same for the other side with just a tiny turn just to hold it in place. Now, why did we do this? Okay, the bottom part here, can you see that? All right, that's actually going to be sliding into the track here on both sides. With those in there, then you're going to tighten up the handles, and so having it loose allows it to fit in easier on both sides. Let's get this in here. Okay. All right. You really have to barely screw this on. Too much, and it will not fit in there. All right, let's try this one more time. This is, as you can see, it's barely screwed on. Slightest bit of a turn and it falls off. So we want this really, really lightly screwed in. All right, let's put that in there. Okay, that's one side, and there's the other side. All right, and now we can line this whole thing up, make sure it's on the edges here, and tighten it. Okay. Now that we have the base here, we'll bring out the slide itself. Now this is going to go onto the slide. Make sure you put this on properly. It does show that the line has to go vertically, and then you will have these holes on the bottom. Can you see those holes? That will line up with these on the plate itself, and those two line up with the holes there. All right. And we start screwing these in then. Okay, that's pretty much set up, and this whole thing will slide back and forth, allowing the Nano to to engrave on something that's a little bit larger. All right, now the next step, we have to set up the Nano itself. So we're going to put this aside for just a minute and bring out our Nano here. All right, now, if you've seen the rotary video, you'll see that this has an attachment identical to it. This just extends this so this is higher up. If you try to put this on top of the extension right now, you won't be able to place anything under there and engrave it. So we have to raise the laser up, and that's what this is for. All right, so underneath there's a screw that holds this in here. We're going to take that out, and now we're going to have to install this one here. There's a little notch in here that sits on top of that. It just sits right in, and you screw it tight. All right. Next, we're going to be placing the laser up here, and we're going to attach it. All right, now this is what the instructions say on how to install this. However, we ran into some minor problem here that we noticed. First of all right, the extension that we received in the box came these legs. These legs are quite high. The instructions and all the pictures and some of the YouTube videos I've seen, there should have been a leg or a pad that was much, much thinner than this. And it's fine, we can install this one here, but the problem we ran into is that when this gets installed as such, you will find that the screw on the bottom of this extension is sitting too low that it actually bumps in to the slide base itself. Therefore, I can't put it on top of there. The option was we take off the legs on this one and tried to do it flat on the surface, but then it became too high to get into focus, so we had to put this leg on. Working with the company, who was very cooperative, they came up with a different solution. So let's show you how you might have to configure yours in case you have a similar type legs that are included in the box if you purchase this. All right, so what do we have to do? All right, it's actually pretty clever. Right now, the screw is underneath the bottom here, and that's what bumps into the slide. So the simple solution is remove the screw.
Wow.
This is one of those duh moments. Why didn't I think of that? All right, you put this on, and then what you're going to do is you're going to put the screw in from the top. And I don't think this was designed to do so because it's kind of awkward to tighten from here, but conceptually it works. And so now you can tighten this. Again, it's kind of awkward to do that from the inside, but now this thing slides on here and you have no problems with it bumping on, and you can put something underneath here. So now that we have that, let's go ahead and attach the laser once again up top. And we'll go like this. Okay, now that we've got that set up, what we're going to do is place the extension into here. The laser is actually going to be this way so that the slide runs, it's going to run in the same direction here as the laser itself. Okay, now, here's where there's a minor thing to consider. According to the instructions, you are supposed to use these two L brackets, and the L brackets will sit in the second row of screw holes at the base. Okay. All this is going to do is establish a straight line that you can take this extension, butt it up against it, and it's in the right position. Now, the problem with this particular one is if you have these taller legs, it will not butt up against that L bracket. It'll just go right on past it because it's too high up, and the L brackets aren't they're not tall enough to stop the slide from connecting. So I talked with the company, and they came up with a solution that they recommended I use, and that is using the ruler that comes with this particular device, the actual Nano itself. In order to do that, what you're going to do is place this ruler up against the side of the slide here, the base, and you're just going to pull it up against the base of the Nano itself, and by doing so, let's go ahead and show you a side view of this now. Let's say we're going to do this from the side. All right. So we would take the ruler down here and we would butt it up against the slide, and that's the proper distance that this needs to be from the arm here. All right, now, next what we're going to do here is we're actually going to connect things. And if you've seen other of our previous videos, you'll see the back side of this is all color-coded. So we're going to be connecting it without going into full details. The only difference is we're going to have a yellow auxiliary cable. This cable, yellow auxiliary cable, attaches to the rotary device. But in this case, since we're not using the rotary, we're going to take the yellow cable, and on the very end of your extension is a USB hub over here that you're going to connect it to. So let's go ahead and connect everything up, and then we'll connect it to the computer as well.
A few moments later.
All right, we're all set up. We're connected to the laptop, and we have our laser here that is perfectly spaced using the ruler. Now, how do we actually place this item so that it's lined up properly? The instructions do say that you want the focus laser to be on this ruler here. All right, so this is kind of hard to see. I've tried doing that in the previous videos to show it, but the dot doesn't really show up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the lights and see if I can get a better focus on this, and you can see the two laser dots better. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn on the laser. And maybe you can see those two lights there. All right, so we can zoom in a bit. Now, those are obviously out of focus here. We need to make those multiple dots into one. We do so by raising and lowering the laser here with the controls on the side. And as we, in this case, raise it, you'll see that it goes into one dot, meaning that it is now focused and at the proper length. Okay, I think we're all dialed in now, and we're actually going to use a couple slats of wood to show that now with this extension, I can not only engrave something that's larger, but I can do multiple things at the same time. So we're going to go ahead and place these in where we've dialed into, lined up, and we're going to go ahead and start. But before we turn on the laser, keep in mind we do not have the safety cover on this one here, so you must use protective eyewear. And let's go ahead and take a look at how this works. Okay, all right, those turned out pretty nice. All right, I'm really not going to be getting into a lot of testing on this one here. This is no different than showing you how to use the Nano, which we did in our very first video about the Nano. So if you want to see how the Nano itself works, go ahead and check out the video on the description, as always, here. All right, and you'll see some more instructions on how to use the Nano. The reason I'm not really getting into this is all this is doing is allowing you to use the Nano as it is originally intended. It's just that this now moves back and forth and gives you a larger space to work with. But the idea is exactly the same. You still use Lightburn or whatever software that you'd prefer to use that's available to communicate with this, and you're going to set up your image and tell it to do it. But we can now do multiple ones at the same times, or we can just do one larger one, and it works really well. And let's go ahead and summarize what we have discovered about this. All right, my final conclusion. As with the rotary, there were some issues with this. You may notice that originally I showed how to install these knobs on here, but what I found was when you have this attached or aligned with this as is, and if you have the knobs in, if this base moves from one end all the way to the other, it will get stuck on the side and bump into the knob. By removing the knob, does it really hurt anything? No, the ruler can still stay in place. The ruler isn't exactly holding this together, the screws are, so that's not a problem not having it. What's actually kind of coincidental, but the instructions themselves have a picture. Let's see if we can find this here for you. I caught this after the fact, which I thought was quite interesting. But the instructions tell you to put these knobs on all sides. However, the pictures themselves, if you take a look at how these are set up, they are missing the knobs in here. So I think Longer was aware of this problem, and so they made some corrections on the pictures to show this, but they didn't do a really good job of explaining that or coming up with a different solution to hold this ruler in place. I think I really like the Nano, and the extension here, the slide extension, I actually like this. I ran into some problems. Removing the knobs wasn't that big of a deal. It took me a minute to figure this out because it kept bumping into this, and I thought, well, let me take it off, see how it works. And it actually worked fine from that point. So the idea that you can actually engrave something so much larger than what most mini engravers do, I'm very pleased about that. I haven't actually seen a slide extension before, so I was kind of blown away by this. Now, there may be others that make this. I have just never seen it in the years that I've worked with these. I don't work with these mini ones too often. So again, this was something new, very clever. I think Longer probably needs to spend a little more time on their instructions, make sure they get things right. It looks like they're probably making some changes along the way because, as I mentioned, the feet that were contained in the box are different from their pictures, and because of that, this is raised up. It caused some issues. The knobs caused some issues. So I think they're trying to make some changes, but they haven't got it there yet. I hope that what will happen is once they figure out the best configuration for this, what they'll end up doing is redoing their instructions to make sure that you teach people the proper way to set it up. In my experience though, whenever I have had any issues, I've been able to get in touch with Longer and ask them questions. I sent them videos that they asked. I try to give the descriptions of what type of problem I have. One of this is not only to fix the problem, but I'm a believer in customer service making a difference on when I buy something. If I buy a high quality product and the customer service is terrible, or buy a low quality item where the customer service is outstanding, I will actually go with the low quality one. All right, why do I say that? Over the years in the IT world, I have bought hundreds of computers, and undoubtedly, even the best of the best, you may get something out of the box and it just doesn't work. All right, now, if you have a high quality computer with terrible customer service, it may be weeks before you find someone who's actually going to help you. You get passed around from place to place to place, whereas someone that may not have as good quality, if it comes out of the box, it's broken, you contact with them and they provide you a replacement right away. That to me is a much more important item. So in this particular case, I think we have two things going on. The laser itself, I think, is wonderful. I'm really, really pleased with that. There are some issues with both the rotary and this slide extension, but the customer service has been really, really good. They responded quickly. They gave me some ideas on how to line this up. They came up with the idea of using the ruler to use this to separate the distance. Turns out I actually made some of my own adjustments that I was able to do to make it work even better. I didn't get into talking about the clamps. These clamps would actually hold the wood down in place, or not necessarily wood, anything else that you're working on, it holds it in place. But what I found is, obviously, you can't put this on this side. The only side that you can put it on is the opposite side. And then by doing so, it takes up a lot of space just to put this device inside there. I actually worked without it, laid the wood on there, and I didn't have any problems. It's not as though this thing is moving so fast that whatever you're going to be engraving is going to be sliding all over the place. It is there for you, so you can use it for clamping it down. Overall, I really am happy with this, even with the minor issues here. So let's go ahead and conclude this video then. All right, now most mini compact lasers have a limited space that you can engrave. Most are maybe 100 millimeters square. So it's not something that's really long. That's usually probably around a little under 4 inches square. You can probably make some Christmas ornaments and things that are a little bit smaller than that. That's perfect for someone who's just doing maybe some gifts and some things, some hobbies. However, it's also nice to be able to do something and engrave it a little bit larger pieces. That's why I'm pretty impressed with the slide extension, because this allows you to use a compact mini engraver and you can engrave on things that are larger, because it moves this piece and allows you to stick in something larger, so you're not just relying on a 4 by 400 centimeter square item. That I think is a benefit for when you're using something as small as this one here. Overall, we're really pleased with the Longer Nano Pro, and we definitely give it a thumbs up on this as a whole. Next week, we're doing something going back to our roots Roots, where we're doing a DIY project. We talked about this a few weeks back where we're updating our studio. It's kind of not so much we're really updating our studio, we're updating one of our rooms that will just happen to be where we continue to record things for our studio. So we'll just keep that a secret for now what it is. So until we meet again, bye-bye.